When she was just 7 years old, Emily Carter vanished from a quiet neighborhood in Oregon. One moment she was riding her bike down Maple Street, and the next gone, as if the earth had swallowed her whole. The town mourned. Her parents never gave up hope. But with each passing year, the search faded into silence.
18 years later, in a remote cabin deep in the Montana wilderness, a woman stumbled out of the woods, frail, sunburned, and bereft.
She carried no ID, only a bracelet with a single name engraved, Emily. The country was stunned. The media exploded. And the question on everyone's mind was the same: where had she been? The answer was darker than anyone could have imagined. Emily had been held captive by Dr. Raymond Kessler, a former child psychologist who had once appeared on national TV as a savior of troubled youth. He had created a twisted underground bunker where he claimed to be rebuilding broken children away from the corruption of modern society. But in truth, it was a place of horror. Emily was the first, but not the only victim. Her testimony unveiled 2 decades of unspeakable torment. But what shocked America most wasn't just the abuse, it was the facade. Kessler had lived a public life, published books, run a podcast, and even advised parents on national television, all while hiding Emily just miles from civilization. The trial was swift. The jury, visibly shaken, deliberated less than an hour. When the judge read the sentence, 431 years, the courtroom erupted in gasps. It was symbolic, a sentence not just for Emily, but for every year of childhood she and others had lost. Emily didn't cry. She stood tall, looked her captor in the eye, and whispered, "I'm not broken." Her story would become a best-selling memoir, a landmark case in criminal psychology, and a symbol of survival that echoed across the nation. The FBI agents who searched Kessler's property needed weeks to process everything.
Beneath the modest cabin, they found a reinforced steel door hidden beneath a false floor.
Behind it lay a cold, fluorescent-lit tunnel that led to a series of underground rooms, soundproofed, windowless, lined with surveillance equipment and medical tools. In one room, they found dozens of videotapes labeled only with children's names and dates. In another, a wall covered in notes, photographs, and what appeared to be psychological profiles. Kessler had documented everything: his methods, his treatments, his manipulations. To him, it had been a study. Emily, during interviews, revealed how he had slowly broken her down over the years, stripping away her identity, giving her a new name, Lily. He taught her that the outside world was evil, that her parents had abandoned her, that she was special and meant to be raised in his sanctuary. At first, she resisted, screamed, fought. But Kessler was patient. He didn't use brute force. He used control, routine, isolation. And over time, the line between fear and obedience blurred. "He didn't chain me," she said in one chilling interview. "He convinced me I had nowhere else to go." But Emily hadn't forgotten who she was. She had held onto fragments: a lullaby her mother used to sing, a scar on her wrist from when she fell off her bike, a birthday cake with 7 candles. When a storm knocked out the power one night, and the electric door failed, she knew it was her only chance. She ran barefoot, half-starved, until she collapsed at the edge of a ranger's outpost nearly 30 miles away. The man who found her, Park Ranger Samantha Doyle, would later testify that Emily looked like a ghost from a forgotten war. The trial of Dr. Raymond Kessler was the most watched court case in America in over a decade. Prosecutors presented his journals, the tapes, and Emily's harrowing testimony. What stunned the public most was how ordinary Kessler seemed. Calm,
Articulate, even charming.
He referred to himself not as a kidnapper, but a guardian of the lost. "She was safer with me," he claimed.
"I saved her from the chaos out there."
But his calm crumbled when Emily took the stand. Now 25 years old, dressed in a simple blue blouse and jeans, she spoke clearly. "You didn't save me.
You stole me. You erased my name, my face, my childhood.
But you didn't erase me." When the judge handed down the sentence, 431 years without parole, the courtroom stood in silence. It wasn't just justice. It was a reckoning. The world outside had changed.
Smartphones,
social media, self-checkouts, people walking down the street staring into screens. Emily was overwhelmed. She often stared at her own reflection like it belonged to someone else. She had left the bunker, but the bunker hadn't quite left her. At first, she stayed in a private trauma recovery center in Colorado, far from the media circus. Therapists worked with her to help rebuild her sense of identity, not Lily, not victim, but Emily. Slowly, she reconnected with her parents. They had aged, of course. Her mother's hair had gone gray. Her father now used a cane. But their love for her had never changed. There were quiet moments, her mother brushing her hair like she used to, her father crying when he saw her eat her favorite childhood cereal again. And there were darker moments, night terrors, panic attacks, mistrust of doors that locked from the outside. But Emily was resilient. She joined a support group for long-term abduction survivors. She began journaling, then blogging. Her words were raw, honest, painful, and people listened.
Soon, publicers came knocking.
Talk shows begged for interviews. Hollywood offered movie rights. But Emily wasn't ready for any of that.
Until something strange happened.
It was a rainy Thursday when Emily received a letter with no return address. Inside was a single Polaroid. The image was grainy, faded, but clear enough, a young girl, maybe 9 years old, standing in front of what looked like a steel door. On the back of the photo, just 3 words were scribbled. She's still there.
Emily's hands trembled.
She showed it to the FBI. They ran the image through analysis. The background matched nothing in the Kessler property archives.
The girl was unidentified.
The photo was estimated to be recent, maybe within the last year. But the case had been closed. Kessler was behind bars. No accomplices had ever been confirmed. Until now.
Emily Knese-Fehling Altovel. The cold concrete floor, the fluorescent lighting, the eerie silence.
She volunteered to help the FBI reinvestigate. Not as a victim this time, but as an expert. She knew Kessler's psychology better than anyone. His patterns. His twisted logic. The investigation led them to a storage facility 3 states away, under a fake name Kessler had once used in an abandoned research grant. Behind Unit 47A, hidden behind shelves of fake boxes and rusted equipment, was a trapdoor.
Entbeneatet, the same blueprint. Another bunker.
What they found inside would haunt the agents for years. But more importantly, they found the girl.
Alive.
And Emily, once the silenced, broken child, was the one who helped set her free. Her name was Isabella Reyes. 9 years old. Missing for 3 years. She had been abducted from New Mexico while walking home from school. The authorities had long believed she was dead, until Emily found her.
Isabella barely spoke at first.
She was malnourished, terrified of loud noises, and clung to a stuffed rabbit with a missing ear. But Emily sat with her, held her hand, told her stories, not fairy tales, but truths. Truths about surviving. About holding on. "You're not lost," she whispered.
You're just on your way back.
The media erupted once again. Emily was hailed as a hero, again. But this time, she didn't hide. She stood in front of cameras, spoke directly to the nation. "We're not broken. We're not weak.
We are still here.
And we will not be silent." Over the next year, Emily launched the Lily Foundation, named after the identity Kessler forced on her, now reclaimed as a symbol of strength. The foundation focused on searching for missing children, supporting survivors of long-term captivity, and training law enforcement to recognize psychological manipulation tactics used by predators. Her book, 18 Years and Still Breathing, became a bestseller in less than a week. It wasn't just a memoir, it was a manifesto of survival. Schools, universities, and even FBI training programs began using it as required reading. At her book launch, a reporter asked, "Do you still feel like the girl who was taken?" She paused, then smiled.
No. I feel like the woman who came back.
Raymond Kessler remained in maximum security prison, serving his 431-year sentence. But he never spoke of accomplices. Never explained the second bunker. Never admitted to more victims. And then one winter morning, he died in his cell, alone, cold, with no one to mourn him. Emily didn't celebrate. He doesn't deserve my thoughts, she said. But every child he tried to erase deserves a future. That's where my focus will always be. As the years passed, more survivors came forward, some who had escaped, some who had been freed because of Emily's work. Her story lit a fire that spread far beyond her town, far beyond her past. On the 10th anniversary of her return, Emily stood at a candlelight vigil, surrounded by survivors, families, and support.